Okay, picking up where left off, we're finished doing the pay here, and the pay, quite frankly, is going to be kind of simple, right? It's just going to be whatever the PFV sales times the commission rate. And that's it. Okay, kind of makes sense. Now let's go see if this thing works. So let's go grab us a handful of this stuff. Okay. And so now, instead of just being this is going to be commission, employee commission. Okay, and then this is going to be employee commission. This is going to be 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Okay, so I need to add their sales to it, right? That makes sense. Into set sales. It's like 4,000 or something. Okay, cool. Now let's see if this works. And she gets paid $480 because she made that much in sales. Okay, makes sense. But I really don't need these things anymore, do I? So is there a convenient way to make super class methods go away? Because I don't need to set hours or set the rate. Don't need that at all. So to avoid confusion, is there some way to make that go away? No. But let me tell you what I do. Okay. So what I do is I override those guys and just basically what I call neutering. What I'm doing is I'm neutering the thing so it means nothing. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do some more overriding here. So I'm going to override the public double get hours. Okay? And then when you ask for the hours, I'm just going to return a -1. Like, dude, if you accidentally set something, so public void set hours, if you did it by mistake, right? Look how much code I'm writing in here. Nothing. That's it. In other words, basically ignore it. So I cannot make the these unwanted methods, I can't make them go away. But I can just neuter them to the point where they're insignificant. So if I accidentally do this, now I've seen other programmers, when coming to this, they wanted to throw an error message saying, no, you can't set the hours or get the hours because that's not applicable here. I mean, you could do that. I typically choose to just silently ignore them. It's a choice, okay? It's not like it's one way is correct or one way is wrong. I'm just saying, make it so that if you accidentally left some stuff in here, like we did here, that this becomes irrelevant. So in fact, I'm gonna comment that guy out. Okay, so it should still work, right? Because I don't need the hours of the rate at all. Cool? Okay, that's kind of making sense, I hope. All right, so we did 2 different types of inheritance. One was very simple, where we just changed something. One was more complicated because we changed some things, but we added some things that didn't exist and took some things away. Although we didn't really take them away, we just neutered them. Okay, on page 655, they talk about polymorphism. Polymorphism. So polymorphism is a term. It's one of the 4 pillars of OOP that basically says I can write an application and tell it to calculate the pay, and it will figure it out on its own. I don't have to go in and tell it what type of employee you are. It can figure it out. So we're going to demo this, and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. But there's a catchphrase for it, and the catchphrase is, do what's right for you. That's the catchphrase. So let's go back to here in our guy. So, imp0 is an employee. Yikes. non-exempt. So imp1 is a non-exempt employee, and imp2 is an employee commission, right? Cool. All right, here we go. I'm going to create me an array list. You guys remember the array list, right? So array list, and I'm going to use the base type or the superclass. Okay, and I'm going to call imp list is equal to new array list employee bowlegs. Okay, cool. Oh, you mean I have to go do something? Yeah, I'm afraid I do. Okay, so I'm going to add all these employees together into the list. So one list of, and remember now, I didn't say it was an array list of employee non-exempt or employee commission or any of that. It's just plain old employee. So here we go. I'm going to say imp list dot add imp0, right? Yep, imp that guy. Imp list add imp1, which is the non-exempt guy, and imp list add imp2, which is the commission guy. Okay. So now it's time for me to like run a payroll, and so I want to run through every single employee and calculate their pay. Okay, cool. I'm going to use one of the enhanced for loops because that would be very appropriate here. For employee E or imp in imp list. Okay. Then I'm going to just say spit out what their pay is. Actually, I'm going to spit out the whole thing. It'll make it a little easier to see. So this is going to be whatever the employee type is and plus whatever their pay. All right. Let me explain what's going on. If I write to the general, not to the specific, write to the generalized, what does that mean? That means this imp list is not a specialized imp list, it's the generic one. It's that superclass one, okay? If I talk to the superclass, the machine will, when you ask for calc pay of a superclass, it's going to say, well, I know you told me to calculate the pay based upon that, but I know better. Instead of doing exactly what you told me, I'm going to do what's right for me. And if I'm a commission employee, I know how to handle that. If I'm a non-exempt employee, I know how to handle that. So that's what this is all about. One more time. So you write programs for the general case, and the machine automatically figures out how to handle the specialized case. Back when we were talking about animals, okay, if I had a super class called animal, and I had, a kangaroo, a snake, and a bird, and I said, like I'm writing a game. I said, okay, you're on square number 1. I want you to go to square number 4. Well, the kangaroo would hop there, the snake would crawl there, and the bird would fly there, but I don't have to tell it how to do it. I just say, move. And then each one of them says, okay, you told me to move, but I kind of know what you meant, because move to me means hop, or move to me means crawl, or move. Just like here, calculate pay to me means something different. So we'll run this thing umpteen gazillion times. So here we go. So actually that one's from the one before. But anyway, so it all works. We get the correct answers, 420, 450, and 480. So if you don't quite gather this would be the time to kind of take a break, come back, and read that section of the book one more time. Okay, so one more time. If you have a subclass, you can still refer to it. Remember the instance of thing? I can still refer to it as if it was the superclass, even though it's not. It's actually one of the subclasses. And the machine can figure it out. It says, oh, when you ask for calc pay, I know which one of the calc pays to use. I'm going to use the specialized version of calc pay, not the generic version of calc pay. Okay, kind of makes sense? On page 660, they talk about abstract classes and abstract methods. Okay, abstract is a way to tell the machine, look, I really don't want you to ever use the base class thing at all. I want to force you to go in and write a specialized version. Now you can do this on a particular method. I can go to like the calc pay method and say, I don't want you to use this. I just want you to always remember to override it. Basically, it forces me to override. That's what abstract means. Now I'm going to do something a little kind of weird here. Is I'm going to go here. I'm going to make a copy of this guy. Just bear with me for just a minute. I can actually say copy and then go right here and say paste. And then what do you want to call this thing? I want to call this thing base. Employee base. Okay. That's the same thing, right? We haven't made any changes yet. But instead of having his thing public class employee, I'm going to say abstract. Public abstract employee. Which means all this stuff in here is something that you can use. You're more than welcome to use it all. But you cannot create an instance of this class because that's not how it was designed to be used. All right, I'm going to say that again. If I was to try to create an instance of the employee base thing, the machine's going to say, I'm sorry, you can't do that. So let's go try it just to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say employee base, I don't know, 42 is equal to new employee base. And it's going to come back and say employee base is abstract and cannot be instantiated. So, all right, I told you what it does. Okay, it forces you to inherit, and I told you what one of the rules are. And one of the rules are because you have to inherit. That means you cannot create an instance of this thing. Okay. Now, in our case, it kind of sort of would make sense. I'm gonna have to comment this out before we get anywhere. It would kind of sort of make sense. For every place where I said employee, we probably ought to make that employee base. Well, not that one. Okay? So instead of having, I'm going to go ahead and change this to employee base. Employee base. Let's go to our non-exempt guy and make him employee base, and our commission guy and make him employee base. So what I'm doing is I'm inheriting not from a real honest-to-God class. I'm inheriting from an abstract class. Yikes. Okay. Oh. Yeah, I can't do that guy now because he's not part of the list. Okay, let's see if I've got all the bugs fixed now. Nope. Oh yeah. Boy, man, when you start this stuff, you got to get it all right. Employee base. Shoo. Okay, now I think I have all the bugs. Maybe. Yay! Okay. So, what I've done is, this is a very common thing. In other words, I build a base employee, and then I tell you, if you want to create an employee, don't use mine just as is, but you're allowed to inherit from it. Now, you might think to yourself, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why on earth would I ever do that? I mean, you're thinking, okay, mechanically I know how to do that. I just put the word abstract out there, but so what? So, let me explain, I'll tell you a story. So, this story is mostly true. It's embellished a little bit. But 1,000,000 years ago, I was writing a banking app. And one of the most important part of a banking app is like the audit trail. When somebody makes a deposit or takes money out, everything gets recorded in a log. And so we created a base thing called like bank transaction or something. And then it had all of the auditing. It knew who did it and where and the time of day and what machine you were logged into and who you were logged into and everything you ever wanted to know for an auditor. Everything was absolutely perfect. Everything had to be absolutely right. It took about a week for the code auditors and the testers and the security people to give us the clearance on this one piece. Okay? And I'm going to stop here and finish the story in just a second.